report on Madrid and the Middle Eastern talks. Delegations from Israel, Palestine, Egypt. For half a century, these people have been feuding. And for the first time in history, the Israeli and Arab parties have gotten together at one table to discuss common efforts to regulate the position. The representatives are happy to see the presidents of the U.S. and the USSR in the hall. This unique meeting was, Gonzalez spoke to this unique meeting, the Spanish President Gonzalez, and then George Bush spoke. Peace in the Middle East has to be a result of these negotiations, of compromises. Both sides must learn to listen to each other. I call for the Arab states and Israel to prevent unilateral actions which might threaten our talks in Madrid. These talks will not be easy. The Madrid conference was also spoken to by Gorbachev. Gorbachev made a speech at the conference. Peace in the Middle East will be beneficial to all. The potential is great in this region. By resolving these problems, we can support world progress. We must forget the past, forget about past hatreds, militarism, terrorism, hostage-taking, with actions which make people refugees. The Madrid conference today, the participants spoke from various countries. The positions of different sides are being expressed very carefully. Conflicts are being avoided. Official positions are being corrected. It's clear now that Bush was correct, that the process of regulation in the Middle East will take a very long time, more than 1 year. The differences are much too great between Israel and the Arab participants. The Jordan-Palestinian delegation does not conceal this fact. What will be the position of your delegation? The most important issue is territorial. And we want Israel to remove their troops from Arab territory. The Deputy Foreign Minister of Israel remarked that peace needs to be achieved by bilateral talks without initial preconditions. The President of the USSR has talked to the Chairman of the government of Spain, Felipe Gonzalez. Both leaders declared that they discussed perspectives of the Madrid conference and also issues with the quickly changing situation throughout the world and the USSR. They talked about Spanish-Soviet relations. A year ago, much was said about a Soviet-Spanish relationship and increasing economic ties. Could the ethnic problems in the USSR negatively affect these relations? So far, they have not influenced our relationships with Spain. But Prime Minister Gonzalez stressed our cooperation, and I'm very happy about this. Maybe one of the countries with which we are seeing many changes with this country with which we did not have relations with for a long time. I can say that today we confirmed that we will continue our efforts at improving our relations in these complicated times, and the USSR is counting on more help. With the support of Prime Minister Gonzalez, who is for democratic formations, he will keep this in mind. Prime Minister Gonzalez confirmed that Soviet-Spanish relations will continue, but the USSR must increase the speed of resolving these problems. In the second half of the day, Gorbachev flew from Madrid to France to speak with his colleague, Francois Mitterrand. George Bush flew to Washington from Madrid a little earlier in the afternoon. On the eve, Gorbachev, this is a cartoon in the newspaper, where Gorbachev and Mitterrand are discussing the coup. France remembers that Mitterrand was late in supporting the anti-coup elements, but this did not hinder the meeting between the two presidents. Mitterrand and his wife met Gorbachev. This visit is very significant for Gorbachev, very important for him. While the USSR is falling apart, it's important to show the republics and their leaders that a central authority must represent the USSR. During the course of the discussions, Gorbachev informed Mitterrand about the pace of the Madrid talks and his talks with Bush. This meeting is being conducted in the southwest of France. They'll talk about aid to the USSR and Soviet nuclear weapons, nuclear disarmament, and its enactment, actual enactment. In order to prevent dissemination of nuclear weapons, the best method is to eliminate these weapons. But this has a lot to do with technology, which Moscow does not have. A meeting the 4 nuclear powers on the European continent could help this process. The problems are not simple. Many of these issues will be discussed during the televised conference between Gorbachev and Mitterrand on French television, Channel 2. There's not a single place in our states where people cannot forget Stalin's victims. It's important to remember what dictatorship carries with it. And who were these 12 people? Many of them were not even 30 years old. Thousands from Petrozavodchan came to say goodbye with flowers and their children. This moment of silence, this procession throughout the squares of the city, there's a political meeting to the first victims of Stalinist camps. Thousands and thousands of nameless people were tortured here, were to death. There's a prison here in 1937. This is a report of the reburial of victims of Stalinist victims. A political rally in Moscow. The death of one person is a tragedy. The death of thousands is a statistic. The human race has not known a worse statistic than what these people know. The greatest imagination could not have created such a horrible event. Millions of people were killed. Millions of lives were ruined. Souls were destroyed. This is what is being discussed today and remembered today at this political rally in commemorating the victims of Stalinism. I came here today that my father and mother were executed. This stone, which was erected by the Memorial Society, well, I participated in this activity. This is a 1-year anniversary of this memorial. Yes, I was very affected by the Stalinist repressions. In 1935, my father was arrested. In 1936, my mother was arrested. In 1939, I was arrested, just out of school. And in 10 years, my younger sister was arrested. I was in the camps. I was in exile. 17 years was wasted. I think this stone is my mother's tomb. I have nowhere else to go to, to remember my mother. I don't know where my father is buried. I don't know where my parents are buried. This stone, this is an international tombstone. One more event. Today, the Congress of the All-Russian Union of Invalids, because their fate is very bad. These people must help one another. Even crocodiles help birds, allow birds to pick debris out of their teeth. But millions of people, 15 million invalids in our country need to be helped by other people, by other citizens of our nation. Okay. Because the pensions are not sufficient to support these people. The sick and unhealthy must be helped. We must find a way to help these 50 million invalids in this crisis situation and transition to market economy. We cannot count on the help from the governments. We must use our own efforts to help ourselves in this sphere of the economy, to create our own industries,